Let us march together until victory is achieved. The October uprising in Iraq erupted on this day a year ago, and after 3 weeks its flame spread to cover most of the cities in central and southern Iraq, and today it is entering its second year, and the toiling and liberating masses hold their hopes and are preparing to complete their march with greater momentum, strength and determination. The uprisers, who are the youth, especially the million rows of unemployed, daily wage workers, industrious, vulnerable workers, women, students and other emancipatory people, the impoverished and the dispossessed, waged a revolutionary mass political struggle during a whole year characterized by determination and hope for change, during which they recorded heroic epics not witnessed in the history of Iraq. Hundreds of victims, tens of thousands of wounded, and large numbers of detainees and kidnapped have fallen victim to this popular uprising. Today, the uprising is entering its second year, and we remember these selfless revolutionaries and raise their banner high with respect and appreciation. The uprising, despite the retreat of its previous momentum, remained the fortress of defense for the liberation masses and society as a whole in the face of the Islamic and national bourgeois power and their militia forces, and the economic, social and political motives that were behind its emergence were still in place, and even intensified, exacerbated and deepened more than before. Those responsible for the continuation of tragedies and imposing a catastrophic material and moral retreat on the lives of the masses are this corrupt authority, its parties, currents and fascist militia forces, and the imperialist and regional powers, Iran, America, the Gulf states and others, which are struggling to control the lives and fate of the masses in Iraq in coordination with their allies in the current authority. The October uprising was and still is the reaction of the people and its revolutionary response to these forces as a whole, and that their progress will remain dependent on the extent of their independence from the influence of all these conflicting forces and factions, and indeed on paralyzing their capabilities and imposing them to retreat. One of the most important conditions for the development and progress of the uprising to achieve victory is securing political, organizational and intellectual independence for the masses of workers, toilers, and the revolting poor, and to draw lines between it and those who sell the uprising and its goals and demands to the enemies of the uprising, the forces in power and their international allies. The revolutionary task is to thwart the efforts of the enemies of the masses and prevent them from ending the uprising and turn it into a tool for achieving the goals and objectives of any wing and party of the conflicting parties. This means, among other things, to stand firm against and expose the falsehood of the claims of the Al-Kazemi government and its early elections, and not to anticipate the reformist false promises of the negotiators who manipulate the cause of the masses. The fate of this uprising depends on the degree of the growing political, organizational and intellectual readiness of the disadvantaged and toiling masses at the forefront of this uprising, and independently organizing their ranks and forces, as well as strengthening the cohesion of this uprising with the working class and social struggle taking place in society. The October uprising was not, and will not be, the adventure of a small group, nor a political upheaval that is not related to its class and social roots for the working masses, its conflict in Iraq, rooted in the 2011 protests. The Communist Alternative Organization in Iraq has been involved, from the start and with full force, in this uprising and is continuing to struggle in its circles and defend it, side by side with the uprisers in this revolutionary mass political movement, striving for the uprising to adopt economic, social and political goals and demands that serve the class, the working people, the toiling masses, all the dispossessed and the oppressed, and the interests of the socialist struggle of this class. The outlines of our policies and our program of action in the uprising have been announced since the beginning of the uprising, as we have fought and are still striving for our struggle and policy to be a tool for the progress of the uprising and the achievement of its goals and demands, and for it to present itself as an alternative mass authority that achieves the direct political will of the masses. In this regard, we raised the slogan of all power to the rising masses. Masses of workers, toilers, youth, women, students and all the oppressed. The October uprising, with its revolutionary traditions and its heroic response to the bourgeois currents of political Islam, and their corrupt militia and oppressive power, will remain the trench that protects society from their hands, which is the hope for achieving the goals and demands for which the uprising was launched. Let us strengthen the uprising and work together to raise the level of its organization and the unity of the struggle of its emancipatory forces. Let us strive for its transformation into an organized, capable and unified political force with an emancipatory political vision that is stepping towards its victory and achieving freedom, prosperity and justice. Long live the October Uprising! Long live the struggle of the masses for freedom, social justice and prosperity! Long live socialism! Organization of Communist Alternative in Iraq. The 1st of October 2020.